Okay, so it is being recorded.
You, I would suggest at this moment you can probably dispense with an introduction.
Right. Okay, absolutely. So, how are you doing, Ananda?
Well, that is a good question, and this is my subject for the day
Mm-hmm.
today. I have I have spread out in front of me a lot of paperwork, and I've had to do a lot of computer stuff to uh, this company that I just accepted their job offer.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I've accepted the offer, now I have incredibly exhaustive background checks, and they want to know so many details. And then
Mm-hmm.
there's somewhat complicated computer access to do that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably the main reason why I feel very logy today. I had a hard time waking up this morning,
Oh, okay. You
and I
must be
know.
you must have a job of quite a bit of responsibility, yes?
Well, yeah, it is a hospice nurse,
Yeah,
and I work very independently.
right, right.
And yet I've had several jobs along this lines, and usually if they like me when I come in, I show them my license, and they say okay.
I
And
see.
this one, it's like amazing.
Okay.
Me searching the past for addresses where I lived, and somebody suggested it had to do with the Patriot Act and stuff. Maybe they had more,
Mm.
but I don't know really. What it is.
Yeah.
But yes, there is some responsibility, and it's good that they want to know who they're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so what I've been contemplating here as I water the plants and wait for you to come on, what I've been considering is, uh, we've talked a little about the emotional. It's sort of like a faux spirituality in a way, but it's the kind of thing where it's embrace your feelings
Mm-hmm.
fully, no
Mm-hmm.
matter whether they're good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
And um, I've been kind of a harsh critic
Mm-hmm.
of that approach, and recently some friends have said, "Oh my gosh, Jeff Foster, Matt Kahn, I really like those guys. They helped me in some way,
Mm-hmm.
They helped me be a lot, come alive, and just say, forget the forget all the philosophical ideas and just come into your own somehow, something like that."
Mm-hmm.
Now, I much prefer the approach that we take.
Mm-hmm.
Totally suits me. But on a day like this, when I feel the effects of stress, not only working more at my regular job and then doing this unexpectedly complex um, and time sensitive, as they call it, um, background checks and stuff like that, I feel myself leaning towards, well, maybe I need to accept that I feel, for some reason, I'm having a hard time waking up today.
Mm-hmm.
2 cups of coffee, and I've been up a couple hours, and I still don't feel like I'm really awake,
Mm-hmm.
for example. And so what I'm wondering about, if you could go into a little, is how do these sort of inevitable biophysical, psychological states fit in with the recognition that happiness is not dependent on states. That's basically it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kind of a kind of a classic issue.
Mm-hmm. Well, the contemplation that we do is about awakening to our true nature.
Yes.
It's quite different from focusing on the person having a smoother life, an easier life, being able to deal with your emotions, being able to navigate your relationships. It's not about that. Although, as a consequence of awakening to the self, to your true nature, as a consequence of that, there is peace. The mind is at ease. The body is transparent. There is wisdom. There's
Yes.
intelligence, understanding. There is an easy flow in your life, synchronicity in your life. There are no struggles, an absence of struggles. So that is a consequence of knowing yourself. So yes, it is quite different from approaches that focus on, I don't know, embracing your emotions or sort of become one with your feelings. It's totally different. It's a different conversation. The conversation that we contemplate is always, what is the reality? What is it that is? What is the reality? What is the self? What am I truly? It is a focus and an interest on knowing yourself, knowing truth, knowing what is hidden in plain sight. The self-awareness, presence, beingness that is hidden in plain sight. Although it is in plain sight, it is hidden somehow, and that's the contemplation that we entertain. So, in this contemplation, we turn our attention to the source, to what am I? What is it? What is happening? Not based upon what the mind may answer, but an answer that comes from complete certainty. So we're looking for an answer that completely brings an end to the question, completely brings an end to the question in such a way that the question no longer arises. So
what's the question exactly?
The question is, why am I miserable? What are the difficulties in my life? What's going on here? One day all is well, next day, heck, she doesn't love me anymore. One day all is well, and next day everything isn't working out, and I need some help. I need to figure it out. And I need somebody to tell me, contemplate this, do that. So the question is about peace and happiness. It's about not peace and happiness that's temporary. I just want a complete answer to this question. You see?
Yeah, and that's what's attractive about this contemplation.
Yes. So it's not about feeling okay in the month of January or February, or getting over a hump, in your life right now. And now I'm on the other side of hump, all is well, and I'll get over the next hump next time it arises. It's not about that. So it's somehow within us there is a seed of knowingness that is dormant, and at some point this seed starts to arise, to grow, to flower, to flourish. And at some point it is impossible to ignore it. You can sort of forget about it temporarily, but you can't completely ignore it. It's going to come back to call you, to bring you to the contemplation. So when you're having certain feelings, certain emotions, something you're going through today, all of that is happening at the mind level, meaning it's not this present moment. There is a story happening in time. There is a mind conversation going on. There is time, the impression of time, and the impression of me in time. Something is happening to me, and something else is needed. I need something else. I would like to have something else. So whenever you're having a certain difficulty in your life, you are not in presence. You're not in peace. You basically have separated yourself from the wholeness of being. And now you are a character, a person who's having some issues. And a thought may arise that, okay, well, let me embrace my feelings.
Right.
But it's still that character, that person in time and space that is going to now embrace their feelings. But this character in time and space is a mentation, is a sensation, is a dream character. So the dream character will embrace their feelings, meaning the dream character is separate from their feelings and now is going to sort of take some steps towards their feelings and embrace their feelings.
Yes.
And it's interesting, but
it's what?
It's an interesting endeavor.
Okay. Yeah.
But if you look at feelings, any feeling, you pick any feeling. Like you were saying, you're having some feelings today of, whatever is happening for you. Bring those feelings that you're having, or any of these feelings that you're having, bring it to now, bring it to presence. Go ahead. Bring it. When you bring it to presence, you come empty-handed, because there is no way for you to bring a mentation or a sensation which occurs in time and space, for you to bring it to presence. Because presence is not in time. So in this contemplation, what we do is look at what is the reality, meaning what is the reality right now? What is it that's real right now?
Yeah, that's great. It's not referring to a conceptual standpoint. It's referring to what's more real. I'm just saying, even on a feeling level, so to speak, what's more real than the feeling?
Well, what is more real than the feeling is the consciousness. The consciousness that witnesses this feeling, let's say, or that the consciousness, the presence, the beingness that takes on the shape of a feeling. Now, a feeling requires time. You're feeling something, it's an unfolding in time. But if you bring the feeling to presence, you're bringing it to timelessness. You're bringing the impression of a feeling to presence, meaning you're bringing time to timelessness, and time dissolves in timelessness because timelessness has no boundaries. So when you say what is more real than the feeling, you have to look at that yourself. And what is more real than the feeling is I awareness, I presence. Before the I feel this and that, there is I, the I of the I am, I beingness, I awareness. So it depends how far downstream you go. If you go downstream from the I am, then you are in meditations and in sensation and in feelings. And you're trying to fix the feeling state, but the remedy to the feeling state is I, the eternity of I. If you go downstream to fix the feeling, then you will have an endless task. Hit or miss.
The point, the particular point that I'm kind of looking at here is, yes, going downstream and getting involved with the whole story. I see the results of that. But if I notice a kind of resistance to, like, say I wake up and I'm not I don't have to get out of bed. and sometimes I lie in bed and breathe more deeply and feel just blissful, and I realize that the body needs rest. It's had a series of intense experiences, say, and that is completely consistent with contemplation or anything else. And then there's this time of, I guess it's because of being involved in the story in a way, and saying, well, I need to be a very functional I need to jump up and take care of things, and because that's who I am in the story. Maybe I'm just speculating as to why an actual resistance to an energetic lull. If you see what I mean.
Well, if you're not feeling any sense of threat to yourself, you wouldn't have any resistance. So there is an impression, there is something that is at risk, and something that is part of you that you've identified with that is at risk. And so you resist. It's a defense. You want to defend what you are or what you feel is really important to you.
Yes.
So of course there are defense mechanisms within the body. The body defends itself against bacteria, against organisms, they're built-in defense. Let's say the white cells and all of that.
Yeah.
Already built into the organism. You see?
Yes.
Now,
and then my mind might say, hey, just take a day off. Tell them I'm not available to work today, and etc. And the rest might be a built-in thing.
Yeah. Whenever we're experiencing some sort of conflict, there is There is something that we've identified with that is being possibly threatened, or we imagine is being threatened.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, maybe you value how they perceive you, or how you perceive yourself as a body mind, you see.
Yeah.
To a certain extent, you have to maintain a certain relationship with your environment that allows the smooth functioning of the organism. But this does not include being identified with any of these beliefs.
Yes.
So I would say that I would presume that there is something that you feel may be at risk, that you have to a certain extent identified with.
Yeah.
Maybe I need a little bit more detail about
Information.
what.
Yes, actually, I was just thinking that. I was just thinking I could say a little more. The the balance is not to go into the slide into the wallowing of anything, but but a little bit of the story. I think what's concerning me, one thing that's concerning me is Sunny, who's right over on the couch, you know, watching you on the big screen.
Hello, Sunny. Yes. Yes.
Hi, Meg.
Hello, Sunny. Nice.
So I have this feeling. I know that in previous relationships, when my workload got heavier, even though the work was crucial, it brings in the money, and then there's a nice place to live, and all those things. There's also a stress on the relation. This is the issue that maybe my experience historically is it puts a pressure on the relationship. It's like, oh, I know that you worked all, for 2 days, and you're a little bit out of it, but what makes us feel good is that we're there for each other, and now all you want to do is sleep or whatever. And it goes both ways. If Sunny's real busy with something, then she's not available in that sense. So I think that's a
yeah, well, but because you love each other, and you support each other in what each one of you does. And of course, if you perceive some things at a certain direction that Sunny is pursuing, and then maybe you have some ideas about how else she could look at it, you can share that with her. But all along, you are respectful and understanding and loving of her path. And similarly, she is understanding and loving of your path. I mean, whichever way it's unfolding in your life.
Yes.
So there is that love and that freedom that's being shared that allows you to go wherever you need to go, do whatever you need to do, knowing that all along you have this shared love.
Right. Which is a beautiful thing. Yeah.
It's absolutely. Otherwise, whatever you're doing, there is some kind of pull or doubt or concern about that you're taking along with you in your activities, and it doesn't matter if you're away for 2 days or for 2 hours. And there are relationships like that where it's a lot of fear and concern about, oh my God, what does my partner think about me? Would they allow that? Would they approve of that? Would they accept that? So there is like a sense of discomfort and not a full settling into the relationship, into the loving space of the relationship. So a relationship that is loving and respecting the love and honoring the love has a lot of allowing in it. It's more than allowing, it's really loving. It's loving what you are and what you do, how you are and how you do it, irrespective. And at the same time, you know, we can explore things together. You see, there is an openness to explore, and out of the exploration, if the exploration is a loving exploration, there is listening. There isn't like I'm trying to impose or I want you to, I want to convince you of something. It's not that way. There is a lot of listening in the sharing. So you're listening and you're speaking from your listening, which is loving. Listening, you pause. You're pausing your mind to listen. As if you're listening through your filters, meaning you're listening through your mind. It's not complete listening. It's filtered listening. You're listening to what you like to listen to. You're putting aside what you don't like, and you're arguing.
Yes, I can see that. There's a fear-based overseer, or there's a fear-based thing going on there that doesn't have the openness and the open heart.
So in the relationship, there is complete freedom. It's important to move towards freedom, towards the freedom in the relationship. So in the freedom, there is just not knowing. There is a relationship that doesn't accumulate history. It's ever fresh. It's fresh. It's ever fresh, and it doesn't have a personal intention. It's not like I'm trying to get you to make me feel a certain way, or to make me feel secure, or all of those are viruses in the relationship, because they constrain the relationship, they limit the relationship to some conditions that I believe and that I feel. You see, so then I need you to manage my feelings and manage my thoughts and my perceptions. And the relationship is okay as long as you're doing that. You are hitting all the checkpoints correct. Yes. And then the relationship is not good if you're not. You see. So in this way, relationship is my agenda and your agenda. You see. But you can apply that to anything. You can apply that with yourself, because we don't just do that with our partner, our life partner. We do it with ourselves. We have our own personal agenda for ourselves. You see, we have all these ideas about ourselves and our life. And so even in beingness is contaminated with the mind's conditions, with our belief structures. And of course, the core, the trunk of that belief structure is the me impression that I am this man, I am this woman, I am this person.
When you say the being is affected, you mean, I think what you mean is the
presence, peace,
the presence
awareness, freedom, our natural state. The natural state is beingness, beingness, the I am, the effortless beingness.
Okay, so I see the thing here. I think, and I've been aware of this for some time, but it's kind of like an immaturity in a sense. And it's like, I'm the happy guy. Just under the surface, it's not okay if things aren't going perfect. but somehow I'm smart enough. I'm functional enough to manage so that it usually feels wonderful. and I think that, and I just sort of assume that that's contingent. That's I mean that's going along with my spiritual understanding, and everything's great. And then, but I'm aware that I rebel. I have a tantrum inside in me as soon as things don't have the feel of the peak something or other.
Yeah. Well, you see, all of these that I am, happy guy and I'm okay and more or less, and then there were tantrums when things, all of that is at the mind level, at the identification level, at the person level, at what I imagine myself to be, what I think I am. You see, but of course, like there are certain personality traits, or people have tendency, depending on their DNA, their hereditary, let's say, their heredity and their conditioning, maybe more extrovert or more introvert, may have various differences in personality.
Yes.
But when you say I, you're referring to something way beyond that. When you say I, you have to pause. You need to pause. Because you need to invite that I to just stabilize. So you say I, before you say I'm a happy-go-lucky guy or whatever, just say I and pause, so you can come to beingness. And then there is, the characteristics of the character.
Yes.
But there is, above all, before all, and beyond all, I.
Right.
So we go very quickly from I to I'm this and that, and too quickly. It's fine. The character with all its characteristics is fine. It's fine. But the confusion comes in omitting the I. Somehow the I of presence, of beingness, it's as if it's not there. All there is just a character, you see?
Yes.
And then there is whenever the character is happy, there is happiness. When the character is, something happens and the character is disappointed, boom, we're unhappy. Because the I has been omitted, has somehow been overlooked. Because as the character gets what they want, or does not get what they want, the I of beingness doesn't move. In fact, as you turn your attention to I of beingness, of presence, then you will find, may not be immediate, but you may find, as this gets more and more stabilized, that there is less of the up and down. There is the character. It's the character itself becomes more peaceful. Somehow the peace of consciousness permeates the dream, comes into the character, and brings peace to the character, brings wisdom to the character, brings equanimity, and of course happiness into the dream. So what I'm pointing to is not to be too quick to identify with the character. Identify with the primacy that comes ahead of the character, which is the primacy of consciousness.
Right. That really hit the nail on the head. That after I, give some space to I,
Yes,
give the space,
yes,
and then all is well, no matter what the all is. That
yes,
I
yes,
do that. Yeah.
yes, because
Great.
the eye of presence, meaning the reality of consciousness, because we're
Mm-hmm.
not just talking about some conceptual conversation,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but the reality, our experience there. We are consciousness. We know consciousness as our direct experience.
Mm-hmm.
You see, that that is not a phenomenal event. It's is the non-event out of which all phenomenal events arise, and in which and as which they appear. But
Yeah.
it's referred to as the noumenon, not the phenomenon. It's the noumenon. It's beyond the phenomenal,
Yeah.
and it does not have any phenomenal characteristics. And that is what the I is.
Right. I feel
Yeah.
the shift happening while talking with you, which is wonderful. The shift to what we're talking about, and yeah. Anyway, I
Yes.
appreciate it
Yes.
and I feel it. Yeah.
Nice. The reality of your experience,
Mm.
which is consciousness, is the reality of all experiences. You see, it is what the I is, and it's a universal I. So
Mm.
whoever refers to I is referring to consciousness, but it's, in most cases they're overlooking it and going to I, this person.
Mm.
But still, irrespective of the mind overlooking
Mm.
consciousness, because the mind cannot really recognize consciousness. Only consciousness can recognize itself.
Yeah. Okay.
Once you start to recognize the beingness, the peace of beingness, the tranquility of beingness, the loving, effortless love that beingness is,
Mm.
once you start to recognize that in yourself, you will start to recognize it in others. Although they may not be recognizing it themselves,
Mm.
your recognition is what matters.
Mm.
And
Mm.
so then as you perceive the same reality, which is the reality of consciousness that is within yourself as yourself, within others and us as others, then the sense of threat dissolves in that, because they're like two drops of water.
Mm.
None aggresses the other. They just
Mm.
one. In a way, that's what this, the gasho is. It's this
Mm. Mm.
it's this oneness.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Concerns are always concerns about me. All the concerns that we have are concerns about me as this person. They're personal concerns,
Mm.
and they're inevitable when we are identified as a person.
Mm.
It's a package deal.
Mm.
Person has personal concerns.
Mm.
Presence, awareness, consciousness, beingness has no concerns.
Mm.
So
Yes.
whenever you are detecting some uh, unhappiness or some kind of issues in your life,
Mm.
and your mind wants to sort of rush to fix the
Mm.
situation.
Mm. Mm.
Try to contemplate that at that moment you have identified yourself with something, with,
Mm.
and it's usually with a repetition of an old identification that we refer to as me. It's like a me story. There is an identification that we sort of repeat it without noticing it.
Mm.
They're like trigger, the
Mm.
trigger points.
Mm.
Things happen in life and it triggers this identification. It triggers the emotion. Then the sense of something is happening to me. I need to do something about it.
Mm.
So it maintains itself. It maintains itself because the impression that I am a separate consciousness
Mm.
comes with this separate consciousness, this me, this person has
Mm.
to do something in
Mm.
order to improve the situation. So it maintains itself via its doing, or its imagined doing.
Mm.
That's how it sort of feeds itself. And,
Mm.
and, and the emotions, the feelings are part of the fuel that
Mm.
keep it on the me, the personal doership trail.
Right, right.
Because I'm feeling lousy, or I'm feeling this, or I'm feeling that. What do you mean? I have to do something about it. You see, that's from that repetitive
Mm.
mindset. You see, it
Mm.
would be stupid for me to do nothing. I have to do something about it. I have to, you know. But
Well, yeah, and from that standpoint, even staying in bed is doing something. You know what I mean? It's the
yeah,
saying like,
it depends.
I
Yes.
need some rest, and then I'll be.
Oh, okay. Because you know, uh, it's really beautiful. In the morning, there are great uh, opportunity for contemplation and sort of being before the body mind gets fully on board.
Mhm.
But yes, there are various patterns that we do, that we engage in. Once you're interested, you start to recognize them.
Yes, and this thing about my life. Where did you go to school? Where did you live?
So that's
It's
a
amazing.
that's a
And
mechanical.
yeah, I understand. I see where you're. There's a humor to it. There's a humor to
Yeah.
seeing a reactivity of just a habit almost to these ideas. Where did how many
Well,
pounds can your body lift? All these questions.
don't make a big deal out of them. What's a big deal? Just answer them and be done.
No, I get it. I think that sounds like good advice.
Don't rehash them too much. Just
Oh, I was getting into this thing like each place I lived in Santa Cruz, and each one
okay.
I would just go into, oh, and there was my partner of that time, and there was, you know what I mean? I was just slushing into a whole personal
Mhm.
dream, and no
Well,
wonder it made me anxious.
but be careful not to imagine yourself to be somebody.
And then there's the kind of it's kind of ironic, but kind of beautiful in a way to be able to just answer the questions without that. It's
Yeah, I mean, there are maybe some memories or images that arise, but they arise as current images and current thoughts in presence.
hmm.
So, it's what's lovely is everything that arises points to presence. You just have to recognize what it points to. You see, when you're looking out, that's what's arising, and it's about this and that happened, and this happened, and that happened. Okay, that's one way of looking at what's arising. But another way of looking at what's arising is that what is it arising to? Because your interest is in awakening to your true nature. So if you're interested in awakening to your true nature, you contemplate not just what is arising, but also the awareness, the presence to which and out of which it is arising. Because that's the peace of presence, the freedom, the more or less quality of presence. It belongs to presence, you see. It belongs to consciousness. It doesn't belong out there.
Right.
So you have to recognize what you love,
Yeah, yeah. And stay with the I that's not followed by a bunch of
Yes.
Qualifiers,
Yes.
even while in the midst of this stuff.
Absolutely. It is always consciousness. In this very moment, it is consciousness looking, perceiving, being. Always that. Irrespective of what it's looking at. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it was a little garbled.
Yes.
It's always consciousness looking.
Consciousness looking, being. Irrespective of what is arising on the screen.
Right.
It's our natural state. The natural state.
Mm-hmm.
Our natural state is awareness, is presence.
Thank you.
So if there are any questions.
Hi, Magdi.
Hola, Álvaro.
Hola.
¿Cómo está?
Bien, gracias. ¿Y usted?
Bien, bien, gracias. Sí, tranquilo.
This question, Magdi. Let's call the word fear. Fear, right?
Yes.
Yeah. It's a label that we put in a sensation that happens in the body-mind. My question will be, can fear just be fear by itself without being someone like I saying, "Oh, I'm afraid. This is my fear."
Yes.
Because what I perceive is there is some kind of conditioning in this body organism that reacts to circumstance. But not necessarily there is an entity who says, "This is my fear, this is my anger." It's more like a contemplate that is happening, right? From this observation, from this space of watchfulness.
Yes.
I don't know. I would like you.
Yes, Alvaro. So first of all, Alvaro, it is not possible for there to be fear without an entity, without a belief in an entity, not without an actual entity, because there is no such thing as an actual entity. There's just the reality of consciousness. But there is a belief in being an entity. There is a belief in being a man. There is a belief in being this mortal person, you see. It is not possible for there to be fear without this impression of person, of being a person. So at the moment there is a fear, at that moment there has been an identification. This does not mean, identification does not mean, because you are correct in your contemplation, identification does not mean that there is an actual identity, an actual person, you see, that there is an actual separate being. There is only one being, Alvaro, which is beingness, which is consciousness, which we all are. We all are this beingness. But as soon as, and we have inherited that habit of being Magdi, being this boy, being this man, being this mother, this father, etc. This identification, we've inherited that. It's become almost unnoticed. Only when we are starting to do our contemplation, which you have been doing for many years, you start to notice the identification and the fear and the jealousy and the sense of lack and all the negative emotions, maybe jealousy, maybe anger, maybe impatience, maybe frustration, maybe a sense of worthlessness, etc. It is always the negative emotions are accompanied with an identification. Now, to contemplate that there is actually no such thing as a separate person, only by repeating, well, there is no separate person, without experiencing that I am this universal consciousness, it's not sufficient to believe or to repeat, well, there is no action, there is no separate person, therefore what is this fear? It's just a bodily sensation. This bodily sensation will remain on board as long as there is somebody that is feeling threatened. And the sense of personal threat can be resolved, let's say, in two different ways. One way is to contemplate that this, whatever is arising, this feeling, this negative feeling, this negative emotion, usually you cannot do it when it's happening, because when there is fear, it depends how big the fear is or how big the anger is. Usually you cannot do it in the middle of it, you see, maybe a little bit after, okay, or at the edges of it. You can contemplate that I am this awareness that is aware of this fear, you see, and that the awareness that is aware of this fear first has no location, no physical location, has no phenomenal qualities. It is not something like a tree or like those glasses. It's not something. And secondly, that this awareness, this consciousness, is real. And thirdly, that this consciousness is what I am. That I am this aware presence, that I am this consciousness, you see, that I am conscious, that it is consciousness right now that's speaking and that's hearing, that is being, it's consciousness, I am this consciousness. And finally, that this consciousness that I am is not contained in a body-mind. The body-mind is contained in it as bodily sensations, as thoughts, but consciousness, is not contained in a body-mind. So that is one of the ways in which you can contemplate this. One of the ways in which you can contemplate this emotion when it arises. Another way you can contemplate the emotion is by turning your attention to what is behind this fear. The way you look at that is by noticing, and nobody can notice it for you, you have to notice it for yourself, that whenever there is a fear, there is an identification with Alvaro, with this man, with a body-mind. You will notice that whenever there is negative emotion, small or big, it is accompanied with an identification with the body-mind. You notice that over and over and over and over, and at some point you realize, wait a minute, it's so stupid. Every time that I'm identified with Megdi, there's some problem. I'm unhappy. Why do I keep on doing that? It's 100% sure, 100% sure. Every time I identify with the body-mind, I'm unhappy. I'd say that, wait a minute, I am not that stupid. There is a little bit of intelligence in me, maybe 5% intelligence, but that's good enough. 5% intelligence is good enough. I'm going to use this 5% intelligence, and I'm going to live with this 5% intelligence instead of living with a 95% stupidity. So I say, okay, whenever there is identification, then I have to find a way, and that's also a contemplation, of letting go of the identification. Mm-hmm. But letting go. And now it becomes your own personal experimentation to move away from this identification, to let go of the identification, to relax the identification, to say, you know, wait a minute, I've done this identification 1,000,000 times, I'm going to do it 1,000,001, 1,000,002, 1,000,003, 2,000,000. I've done it enough. I'm not going to do it. And I don't know how I am not going to do it. I don't know, but I'm just not going to do it. You see what happens. You see, you can conduct your own experiments to basically say no to, oh my God, something is happening to me again. Me, Megdi, me, the body. What's happening to me now? What's gonna happen to me tomorrow? You see? Oh my God, what's gonna happen to me? You see? This is an awful, unhappy dream. What is going to happen to me? What will happen to me? Why did he do this to me? Why did she do this to me? It's always me, 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 this body mind. Me, this identification. So I remain unidentified. So Gonzalo, the question, Alvaro, the question is, how can you stay unidentified? Can you? This is a question for yourself, from yourself to yourself. Can I remain unidentified? You know, a lot of people believe that being unidentified, meaning you cannot function. Oh, no, I'm not functional. I'm like, no, that's not true. That's not true. You can be unidentified and drive a car, answer the phone, cook a meal, go to work. Identification is a spoiler. It spoils the party. It's like you have a party, you invite all your friends, yes, and then you invite somebody who, you know, is breaking everything, is speaking disrespectful to all the women, who is trying to show off. They destroy the party. The party becomes unhappy.
Yes. But at the same time, Maggie, when you speak about, when I hear your words, how you define consciousness, right? Like for me, it's very clear that I don't have doubts. I completely resonate with that. Right? Borderless, not located, it doesn't belong to me, to Alvaro.
Yes.
Is how they call also impersonal, right?
Yes.
Everything is here. That's this that the feeling that the world, what we call the world, is in me, but me
Yes.
has consciousness. No, me has Alvaro,
Yes.
right? Um, but at the same time, we have spoke this before. There is this what we call the vasanas or the
Yes.
condition,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
That still somehow persist.
But they dissolve, Alvaro. If they
Yes.
are persisting at the same level, now that means when they arise, vasanas always arise as personal impression.
Hmm.
Personal impression.
Right.
When they arise as personal impression, and you still deal with them as a person, you are maintaining the vasana with a personal, with a person approaching them from the personal perspective. If vasana arises because it is releasing, it wants to release the anger or the jealousy or the fear arises because it wants you to realize that you are the fearless one. It wants to release because you are no longer the fearful one. It arises as it's an old tendency that is arising, but you meet it. It depends how you meet it. If you meet it as Alvaro, oh my God, this is again happening to me. Oh, I'm still not fully enlightened. When you meet it with that, you are bringing to it more of the personal story, you see.
Exactly. Yeah.
But so you just simply do not meet it with as Alvaro.
Hmm.
That's all. Just do not meet it as Alvaro. Recognize it. You only recognize. If you recognize it and say, "My God, it's a problem. Oh my God, my problem again. I have to do a new practice with it. I have to let me find a new practice." You are bringing Alvaro. You are bringing the person with their agenda, with their toolbox to the mechanic to try but the mechanic maintains the vasana. Simply do not meet it as a person.
Yes, is to watch them how they arise,
And
because
how they dissolve. They arise and they dissolve.
exactly how they dissolve. Not to get into the history. History, some say.
History, no, not yeah. You don't. Yes, correct. Don't get into the history. No.
Because that's process of thinking, right? It's
Yes,
thinking. So
correct.
thought he comes and blah 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 blah. Start to talk about that.
Yes,
Just to feel that in this level of the body, I can see
yes,
that
yes,
sensation. There is a
yes.
tension. There is a contraction,
Right,
right?
right.
And
So yes, yes, and there is consciousness.
yes,
So there is a contraction, there is a sensation, but there is also consciousness. You see?
who is watching this contraction?
Absolutely. I am the
Exactly.
consciousness.
That's the
Yes.
movement, right?
See? Now you are meeting the vasana with consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
with
Exactly.
the recognition that yeah, there is consciousness. You see?
Ah,
So it doesn't then the vasana that before was a big deal,
right.
it becomes less of a big deal. It
Mm-hmm.
it's not such a big deal anymore
Mm-hmm.
because it is a small thing in the face of consciousness.
Right. Right. Exactly.
You see, from the perspective of consciousness, there are no problems.
Uh-huh.
no problems.
Yes. Yes.
If there are some old tendencies, like old clouds, they come in the sky. From the sky perspective, the clouds are not a problem. From the ocean, a wave is not a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So if you recognize whatever is arising from the perspective of consciousness, because there is always consciousness, Alvaro.
Yes.
You know, right now it's 100% consciousness.
Exactly.
You recognize whatever is arising from the point of view of consciousness, then you are not recognizing it from any identification point of view.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. And that's, well, yeah. That, I mean, that's all the thing what we have to do.
That goes a long way. It goes a long way. That goes a long way, Alvaro.
Uh-huh.
And
What do you mean with that? I
it
don't.
means it has a big consequence. To meet the vasana not as a person has a how do you say has a long consequence. It has very good consequences.
Exactly.
Good. It's a good way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to say it in a different way. It's the path with the vasanas that allows the vasanas to dissolve and not to maintain them.
Exactly.
And the vasanas, they will all gonna dissolve, but it can accelerate the process. You can accelerate the process so that maybe you look back and you say, oh my God, I used to get so angry with this or that, or I used to get fearful with this and that. Now the same thing happens. No importa.
Yes.
I feel okay. It's all is well. You see, this is how it happens. Is that these vasanas suddenly they are not there anymore because you are over and over recognizing consciousness. You recognize consciousness. You don't see a problem that you have to fix.
Don't see a problem that has to be fixed. Okay.
Yes. No.
Yes. Exactly. Yes. Nothing to be fixed.
No.
It's just the contemplation of that.
Exactly.
That movement from this space of consciousness, of awareness, observation.
Yes. Yes.
Even
Now.
the even the identifications might be. We can say in time is less now. It's much
Yes.
less,
Yes.
right? The identification can happen, right?
Yes.
It can last a few seconds,
Yes.
a few minutes, depends.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
That
No.
before used to be maybe days, hours,
Absolutely. Yes.
whatever, right?
No. Once you are in the contemplation of the self, then the direction in the beginning it may seem narrow, but then it gets wider, 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 wider. It opens. It keeps opening. It opens. So in the beginning it feels like, oh, not going anywhere, not going anywhere, not, and then it says, oh, now I'm unhappy 10% of the time, then 5%, then 3%, then you forget when is the last time you were unhappy. You forget. I think maybe last year. I don't know. Yes, it goes this way. It goes this way. Yes, yes, and we don't need to hold on to anything. We don't need to hold on to anything. Just simply to remain in the truth of what I am is already free and happy and joyful and has no problem. No, it doesn't need to hold on to this method or this experience or measurement to measure how am I doing and all of that. None of it is needed. Nothing.
Yes.
This way there is no burden, no burden. Something happens, okay, you know, fine, I get a little upset, okay, I understand there's here and there some identification that comes, but that's not what interests me. What interests me is the happiness, the beauty, the love, you
Yes.
see? That's what I say yes to. I say yes to the beauty, the love, and the happiness. So,
Yeah.
okay, sometimes I go to my old habit. Big deal. Is
Yes. Yes. Happens.
so what? Okay? That's
Yeah.
not what I care about.
Yes.
Before, I used to care about my point of view and pushing my point of view and
Mhm.
convincing you of my point of view. And now, that's not, there is no happiness in that.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yes.
We learned that
Yes.
that's the way of suffering, we can
Yes,
say,
absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. And
Confusion, suffering, and
and
yes,
and also like self-judgment is is not happy. Self-judgment, like, you know, to judge others is of course not happy, but also we judge ourselves, you know, and that's also pretty miserable.
hmm
So you say, wait a minute, no.
mm,
So whatever doesn't taste doesn't taste bitter, we don't. There's no sense to eat. You know, we eat what is healthy. You know, we stay with what is happy, what is smooth, and what is happy is always happy for everyone. It's never happy if it's happy for me and not for the others. You will find that that's a trick of the mind. You know, when you go for yourself, then the others are jealous of you, they're unhappy with you. It doesn't work this way. So you take in consideration everything that's happening around you, everybody that's involved, you see.
yes. Okay. Well,
Hmm.
gracias, señor.
Okay, Alvaro. Okay, very lovely to see you. Yes, nice to
Igual.
see you, Alvaro.
Nice to see you.
Okay, beautiful. Hmm. So if there are any questions. I'm going to take a minute to read a question that somebody sent me. Says, hello, dear Magdi, will you talk about the I am process in the next satsang? Watching the me impression from the I am makes more sense because the watching is through presence and not through the person. Uh, in a way, uh, I'm always talking about the I am. Now, I am refers to I as consciousness, I as presence, the reality of consciousness. I am refers to I am the reality of consciousness. The reality of consciousness is. What is real in our experience is consciousness that we refer to as I. I perceive. I am conscious that I perceive. I am conscious that I perceive the world, body, mind. And I am conscious that I am conscious. Let me repeat, I am conscious of the world, body, mind, and I am conscious that I am conscious. The I am, above all, refers to I am conscious and I am conscious that I am conscious. And I am conscious of my perceptions of the world, body, mind. And my perceptions of the world, body, mind are mine. They refer to I am. In other words, I am perceiving my perceptions. It's always I am. I am perceiving my perceptions. That the mind refers to as the world, body, mind. The mind distinguishes, divides world, body, mind. World meaning external perceptions, body meaning bodily sensations, and mind meaning thoughts, memories, and images. Now, there is no such thing as a mind as such. It is always consciousness that is doing the minding, meaning that is doing the labeling, the distinguishing, and the labeling. And that has function because it is part of what dresses up the dream. In other words, the waking dream is made out of forms, thoughts, bodily sensations, and worldly perceptions. And it's a play. When you go to the theater, there are various characters that are wearing different costumes and that have different roles. That is what, and there is also a scenery on the stage. That is what makes the play amusing, and that's what we pay money to go to watch a play and be entertained by the play. But although the play is entertaining and amusing, it always refers to the enjoyer of the play, meaning the I. It is I that enjoy the play. It is I that creates the play. It is I that perceives the play and experiences the play, lives the character, the characters of the play. But coming back to the core question, that the I am is an important contemplation in Advaita, meaning to come to the understanding that what is real in my experience is consciousness. That I, consciousness, perceives. That it is always I, meaning consciousness, that perceives. And it is always I, consciousness, that is real. And that it is I as consciousness that is the only reality. There is no other reality but I consciousness. And this I consciousness is conscious of being consciousness. That is an important stepstone in Advaita. And the next important understanding about I am is about the universality of I am. That I am does not refer to a person. It refers to the universal beingness, universal self. That I am is universal. It is not I am this person. It is I am everyone and everything. So in satsang, this is a core contemplation, and of course the way to do this contemplation is via your questions. It is in your questions that bring the pointing to I am. You're right, watching the me impression from the I am makes more sense. Now, when the I am is watching, meaning when consciousness is watching, it perceives impression, but it does not identify with them as me. So just a little correction here, that the I am does not perceive me impression. The I am always perceives I. In other words, the self always perceives the self. The Sahaja Samadhi state, the absolute state of, it's really not a state, because states are come and go, but just using the term Sahaja Samadhi refers to I am as the only reality, and everything that I perceive is that reality. There is no longer a me that is being experienced or that is being perceived. It is all is the self. So the reason the I am never watches a me impression, and watching through presence and not through the person, all watching is through presence. There is no such thing as watching through a person, because there is no person. There is no reality to a person. A person is an impression, a thought impression, a mentation, a sensation, a belief system, and a feeling system that is subordinate to presence, because it is presence that experiences all mind impressions, all thoughts, and all bodily sensations, all feelings. So the person, you could say, is perceived, but does not perceive. So to refer to watching through the person, okay. Now, just to make a little comment here, that although there is only one observer, which is the reality of consciousness, it's always consciousness that is perceiving, it perceives the world, body, mind, it perceives the world through the body, meaning you perceive the trees through your eyes, through the visual senses. So there is an organism, there is a tool of perception, but the tool of perception, which is the body mind, is not what perceives. It is consciousness that perceives. So similarly, a good metaphor for that is a bird watcher using binoculars. The bird watcher uses binoculars to watch the birds and perceives the birds through the binoculars. The binoculars are the instrument of perception, but they are not what perceives. What perceives is the bird watcher. So similarly, it is consciousness that perceives through the body-mind, but I would not refer to the body-mind as a person. I would refer to the body-mind as just a body-mind instrument. A person is just a mentation. Well, I hope this clarifies your question, and welcome to contact me if there is any more clarification that's needed. Are there any other questions from our friends here?
Yes, I hope.
Hello, Maru.
Hi,
Yes,
how are
very well. Hello, Maru.
you? When we talk about the mind, we talk about it as if it were an entity with a will. Can you comment on that?
Sure, sure. Maru, usually when we talk about the mind, we are referring to thoughts. Yes, we're saying, okay, thoughts. That's the most common way in which we refer to the mind, meditation. Sometimes we refer to the mind as all, not just thoughts, but also mind events may be perceptions. These perceptions may be in your dream, in your night dream. You may have mind perceptions. You see that we can refer to that as the mind, which is the sleep mind, the dream mind. We also refer to the mind as the waking mind, the wakeful mind, where all perceptions, perceiving tree, perceiving whatever you're perceiving, is the waking state mind experience, including all the what you perceive as bodily sensations also can be referred to as mind. So there are like two, the simplest, the most common way of referring to mind is about thoughts and memories, and the more let's say elaborate way of referring to mind is including the perceptions and bodily sensations. Now, in either case, whether we're referring to mind as just thought or as thought, perceptions, and sensations, there is no entity. There is no entity implied. It's just a thought does not refer to an entity. A thought is a form, a subtle form that is appearing. For example, if you think of your mother, for example, it's an image that will appear to you. It's a subtle form that appears to you, but there is no entity. When we refer to an entity, we're not referring to a mind. We're referring to the perceiver as being limited, as being a limited form. Whenever we're referring to the perceiver as a limited form, then we are referring to an entity, to a person. But the perceiver, like this very moment, right now, there is perception. Perception arises to consciousness, to awareness. It is awareness that perceives, or consciousness, or whatever term you want to use, knowingness, beingness that perceives. What is added to perceiving is that the thought that the perceiver, meaning consciousness, depends on the body-mind. It depends on this body-mind. And whenever we add this dependency, this condition onto consciousness, we have limited consciousness to this body-mind, and the belief that consciousness is dependent on the body-mind and may therefore die with the body-mind or shift to another body-mind is also comes along with this belief, because we all know that the body-mind is mortal, that it's a matter of a few more years or whatever for the body to die, that body to cease to function. This particular body-mind will cease to function. And this belief that consciousness is dependent on this body-mind is a cause of ignorance and misery. So the contemplation is that, in fact, it is always consciousness that is perceiving. It perceives the mind, meaning it perceives thoughts, it perceives bodily sensations, it perceives world perceptions. It is always consciousness that is perceiving the mind. The mind is perceived, but it is not perceiving. You see? You see? There is no perception at the body-mind level. perception is always at the consciousness level, It is always consciousness that is perceiving, consciousness that is hearing these words. The reality of consciousness is second to none. There is no second reality. There isn't the reality of consciousness and then reality B, which is the reality of the mind. There's only one reality, and that is the reality of consciousness. So the referring to mind as an entity is an erroneous reference, which is due to the belief that I, meaning consciousness, is a mortal body-mind, is dependent on the body-mind.
And when we say something like the mind is afraid of awakening, something like that, so we are referring to a thought?
Yes, it is a thought. It is a thought that is arising right now. The thought that is arising is the mind. Supposedly there is a mind. At least that's in the thought. That's what the thought is saying. Meaning that is the content of the thought, is that the mind, something called the mind, because we don't even know what the mind is, but the thought says the mind is afraid of awakening. And a thought is like a cloud. You know, you look in the sky, you see a cloud. One cloud looks like a dragon. Another cloud looks like a bird. Mm-hmm. Then you look at this cloud, it looks like abstract painting. You see? Mm-hmm. We say, oh, you know, this cloud is saying, I am a dragon and I'm going to eat you. But it's not saying anything, because you look again 5 minutes later and there is no more dragon. Now it's a butterfly. So when the thought arises, the mind is afraid of awakening, that's just complete bollocks. It's complete nonsense. It's just thought is completely random. And thought is, if you look at your night dream, in your night dream thoughts, the thoughts that arise in your night dream, they're pretty crazy. They're crazy. There may be a thought of, I don't know, a pink elephant. It makes no sense. But yet they arise. In the waking state, it's similar. It's pretty crazy. They're like random thoughts that arise. You see. But the thing, in Advaita, what we are looking at is unhappiness, meaning fear, anger, feeling a sense of lack. Oh my God, what's happening to me? Oh my God, I'm not enlightened. Oh, when will I, you see? That's the unhappiness, you see. And so we contemplate why this unhappiness. And we realize in our contemplation that we are unhappy when we believe that I am mortal, that I, meaning consciousness, am mortal. I am a woman, a man, with this problem and that problem and this and that. That is the unhappiness. You should not believe me. You have to come to understand that for yourself. That yes, I am unhappy whenever I am identified as Maru, when I'm identified as this woman, as this person, as this, you know, all the good and bad that comes with this identification. You have to come to your own understanding and be 100% sure that that is the real cause of my unhappiness. And so then I'm thinking, oh my God, is the mind what is making me happy? What is making me unhappy? What is making you happy and unhappy is the belief that you are the body-mind. Body-mind appears to you. You is consciousness. And consciousness is not a female or a male. Consciousness is not tall or short. It's not. It doesn't have any of the phenomenal characteristics. It's not liquid or solid. You see, it doesn't have any of these characteristics. It is pure presence. And consciousness is what we refer to sometimes as knowingness. It is consciousness that knows that right now I am perceiving this perception. See, I am perceiving this perception. Consciousness knows it is perceiving this perception. And consciousness knows that I am. If you ask yourself right now, ask yourself this question, am I? And this answer will come to you right away. It comes to you from consciousness directly, meaning it's consciousness that knows, yes, I am.
Sure.
Absolutely. You see? And consciousness knows I am conscious. Yes, I am conscious. And consciousness knows I am consciousness. Knows I am consciousness. I am consciousness. I am consciousness. You see? I am consciousness. You see? It's amazing. I am consciousness. And this consciousness is just has no borders. It's amazing. It's just amazing. This consciousness is amazing. This is one consciousness. The one consciousness. You could say, you can call it Maru, you can call it Maggie. It doesn't matter what you call it. It is one consciousness. You see? We can call it by all the names. It's okay. We can call it Joe, Bill, we can call it any name. It is still that one consciousness. The consciousness that perceives is the consciousness that speaks. The consciousness that hears is the consciousness that speaks. Without any border, there is no line that says consciousness A, and then consciousness B, and then consciousness C. There is no line. If thought comes and says, oh yes, there is a line. But a thought is not a line. A thought is something that's just sort of dancing arises in consciousness and keeps changing. Now the thought is, oh, New York City is beautiful. The next thought is, oh, I'd love to have a banana. I want to eat a banana. Next thought is, oh, my son, I love my son. You try to catch your thought. It's a joke. It's like catching a cloud.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So the thought that says the mind, I forgot what it was, the mind...
Whatever. Mine is crazy.
This thought, it means nothing. Because there is no mind. There is no such a thing as a mind. Where is the mind? There is a thought, yes. There is a perception, yes. There is a sensation. You bodily sensation. You have a toothache, or I hope you don't. But I mean, you have bodily sensation. You see, yes. But the mind, where? So it's just a concept. Mind is a concept that we use, like to refer to thought. We refer to perceptions and sensations.
Mm-hmm.
But above all, the reality is the reality of consciousness. And the thoughts, the perceptions, the sensations are a beautiful play. It's a beautiful play. Look here right now, how beautiful it is to be together. You see? It's beautiful. Isn't it a beautiful play? Yes.
It's a happy game.
Yes, a very happy game. Yes, beautiful. Why not? Consciousness loves to play and it loves to play happy games, happy play, happy dreams. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, Maru, beautiful. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Well, thank you all for your lovely company and for your questions, and very beautiful to be together as usual. And we'll see you again, very soon. Okay, Alvaro and Maru and
Okay, bye.
Amanda and Paula. Thank you all. Okay, see you soon.
Gracias.
Okay. Hasta luego.